BRICS weaknesses, and multipolar world costs. Introduction. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa formed the BRICS alliance to challenge Western-dominated global governance structures, including the IMF, World Bank, and NATO. BRICS supporters foresee a multipolar world where no nation or coalition, like the U.S. and its allies, is dominant. They want collaboration, economic independence, and freedom from Western interventionism, such coups, assassinations, and cartel manipulation. BRICS provides a potential alternative, but the alliance has structural problems and struggles to sustain influence and coherence. This alliance has high political, financial, and diplomatic expenses that might restrict its long-term viability. The BRICS alliance has weaknesses. BRICS' internal splits and constraints hinder its potential to confront the U.S.-led global system. Political, economic, and cultural diversity distinguishes the BRICS nations from NATO and the European Union, which are based on common democratic principles or security interests. India, Brazil, and South Africa are democracies with changing presidents and policies, whereas Russia and China are authoritarian governments. Ideological divisions hinder BRICS foreign policy cooperation. India and China routinely argue over borders, weakening coalition stability. Economic asymmetry. BRICS members' economic inequality restricts their impact. China's economy dwarfs the others, increasing worries that Beijing would guide the alliance. Resentment among members might impede collaboration due to this mismatch. Smaller economies like South Africa struggle to keep up with bigger members' objectives. Contradictory cooperation. Commitments. Each BRICS country emphasizes its own interests above collective aims, reducing collaboration. For instance, India's military and commercial alliances with the U.S. have made it hard for BRICS to unite against Western hegemony. Brazil's shifting political environment under multiple governments has damaged coalition policy consistency. The coalition's efforts, such as the New Development Bank, NDB, provide alternatives to the IMF and World Bank, although they lack the same financial power and reach. Compared to Western financial institutions, the NDB lacks the capacity to undertake significant infrastructure projects or support member countries during crises. This vulnerability limits BRICS's global impact. BRICS limited freedoms and influence. BRICS struggles to promote political freedoms and global influence despite its multipolar purpose. Russia and China, the two most powerful members of BRICS, are recognized for autocratic government, persecution of opposition, and disrespect for human rights. Growing BRICS prominence may allow these states to export their governance styles, eroding global democracy and individual liberties. BRICS countries may limit civil rights, journalistic freedoms, and political participation, unlike Western democracies. Due to geopolitical constraints, BRICS lacks the extensive military and diplomatic networks of the U.S. and its allies. China and Russia are powerful but bound by regional conflicts. Geopolitical obstacles like Russia's war with Ukraine and China's fragile ties with neighbors limit the coalition's global influence. Since it lacks soft power to win friends organically, BRICS relies on transactional diplomacy and financial incentives that may not last. Although BRICS aspires to disconnect from Western financial institutions, members still significantly rely on trade with Western countries. For instance, India and Brazil have strong commercial relations with the U.S. and EU. Severing these links to strengthen BRICS would decrease access to foreign capital, technology, and global markets, posing economic concerns. While BRICS aims for a multipolar world, they have failed to challenge Western dominance in international organizations. The dollar is the world's reserve currency, and most international commerce uses it. BRICS has explored de-dollarization, but a viable alternative requires trust, openness, and solid financial institutions, which it lacks. Coalition sustainability costs. BRICS members must spend heavily financially and politically to maintain and grow. As the coalition struggles with internal splits and external pressures, these expenses may become unsustainable. Developing alternatives to Western institutions is costly and needs significant resources. The new development bank must enhance its lending capacity to compete with the IMF, which requires greater member state payments. Brazil and South Africa, already suffering economically, are burdened by this. Creating a BRICS currency or payment system would involve enormous coordination and financial resources, possibly undermining state economies. Political risks. The alliance may need to compromise on values to maintain unity. For instance, India may need to cut U.S. collaboration, which might hurt its economy and geopolitics. If South Africa completely adopts BRICS policy, Western partners may criticize it. Balancing these political risks is vital but challenging since national objectives sometimes trump coalition ambitions. Global trade and sanction risks. BRICS nations may face economic penalties if they minimize dependency on Western trade channels and banking institutions. Russia's alliance membership attracts penalties, and other BRICS nations may be punished for aligning too closely with Russia and China. Maintaining economic stability while navigating these restrictions will be difficult. Conclusion: need for multipolarity. Without illusions, maintaining BRICS will be costly financially and politically. Members must sacrifice much, facing penalties, economic downturns, and diplomatic isolation. To prevent further disintegration, BRICS must overcome internal disagreements, establish institutions like the NDB, and carefully negotiate ties with Western nations. While multipolarity has advantages, it also has drawbacks. The authoritarian methods of BRICS's leaders may restrict its freedoms and impact, raising doubts about whether this new system would foster greater collaboration or just swap one power dynamic with another. BRICS must commit to transparency, mutual respect, and economic inclusiveness to preserve a multipolar world that benefits everyone.